didn't alter the ball in any way. I feel like I've always played within the rules. I would never do anything to break the rules. I believe in fair play, and I respect the league and everything that they're doing to try to create a very competitive playing field for all the NFL teams.
Deflategate has gone from becoming a minor distraction to a full-blown disaster for everybody involved. A major American sporting league that has allowed minor rules infractions to slide for generations now focused on 2 pounds of compressed air. A star quarterback who decided arrogance was the way to face the music, and a commissioner who has payback on his mind. Our guest is a columnist for WEEI.com in Boston. He's been covering the Patriots and the Boston sports scene for decades. He's one of the very best there is at what he does. He's a great friend who also happened to crank out an excellent commentary on this PSI play. Mike Petraglia joins the Hardline. Mike, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ed. Thank you very much for having me.
You started it right out in your commentary, an advice to the NFL, cut your losses. But it seems as if Roger Goodell is digging in, and you even said this to me earlier in the week. This is payback for Goodell going after the Patriots. This has become really ridiculously personal.
Well, I think it has, and obviously Roger Goodell appointing himself as the arbiter in this case, in the Brady appeal case, tells you where his mind is at pretty much. He's going to say, look, I am the final word in the NFL. If you want to go above my head, go to the courts, but I will have the final say on behalf of the other 31 owners. And that's the problem I think the NFL is going to have. They have said from the beginning, Ed, that this is all about having an independent review of Tom Brady's case. Well, if you're talking about the man who commissioned the Wells report that found evidence that led to a conclusion of guilt on Tom Brady, then that man who issued or commissioned the report can't be presiding over the appeal, I don't think. And I think any judge or anybody with any type of legal background would see it the same way. Clearly, Roger Goodell is within his rights to do what he did on Thursday night, appoint himself as the arbiter and the quote-unquote judge of this case, but I don't think that's going to hold up in court. It's too bad it's gotten to this point. Like you said, Ed, this could have been dealt with if Roger Goodell had taken a page out of the book of Adam Silver, who right away in his early time as commissioner of the NBA let everybody know who was the boss. And you do that by 3 or 4 days after Deflategate breaking, you issue some type of penalty so it doesn't mushroom into this. Then if the Patriots want to appeal, fine. But then the issue would have been dealt with before the Super Bowl. Patriots could have focused more on the Super Bowl, even though obviously they won it. And you wouldn't be having this issue right now. But it turned personal, and to me, that's on Roger Goodell.
All right, 2 minutes left that we have here. Let's look at it from the Patriots side. Michael, there are no angels in this. I mean, certainly their response coming back, what they said about the text messages and the deflator and all this, they're making a little bit of a mockery of it themselves, if you look at it. But Brady also started this whole thing. He could have done this much better and handled it at the beginning.
There's no question about that. And I have written this, that if Tom Brady had said right up front, yep, I texted Yastrzemski and McAnally, and I did so all the time, it was routine procedure. There would be no issue, Ed. He could easily say, yep, I text him all the time. I say, take care of the game balls. That's your job. And we joke around, ha, ha, ha. You know, I've signed some stuff for them in the past. It wouldn't be a big deal. But because he chose to deflect, not deflate, it became a much bigger issue on the Patriots end than it really should have been.
And we're not trying to say that what he did was right, because here it comes down to rules. But look, you and I both know quarterbacks around the league, a number of them have even come out in the last week and said, this happens all the time. It has been going on for decades. And not only that, you have teams around the NFL that are cheating with steroid users, so many other issues. This is really a tempest in a teapot that has become this minor volcano, or this major volcano here.
Well, and it threatens to blow up the stability of the league. You're talking about competitive balance. You're talking about many things that could distract from what should be the focus on the field. And that is the nightmare we're staring at in the upcoming months. As spring turns to summer and every team gets ready for training camp, everybody's going to be talking about Deflategate.
What do you think will eventually happen here? Obviously, there is an appeal process. It's 4 games. Many people believe that this might come down to 2 games in the end. What do you think?
I still believe that Tom Brady will be playing opening night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think somehow the NFL will back off the suspension and perhaps levy a heavier fine in terms of draft picks, and that'll be the negotiated settlement. That would be my guess at this point. I think the NFL knows that it would be in their best interest to have Tom Brady playing on that opening night against the Steelers.
Mike, you got to remember something here. You and I have just used common sense, and we have to think that when it comes to the NFL and all this, there's no such thing as common sense, because Goodell is digging in right now, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does and how he handles this. I want to remind everybody that if you go to weei.com, search out Mike Petraglia there under Patriots, but it's also there in the column that he wrote begins with "Cut Your Losses," and it is a brilliant way to look at this. Mike, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. Thanks so much. Best to the family as well. I'll look forward to catching up to you again.
You bet, Ed. Thank you very much.
All right, Mike, my pleasure. Take care. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hardline, continues.